All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for episode 3 of our 4.0 Performance Bolt-On series. In episode 3, we're going to go ahead and put on the Ford Windstar cowl intake setup, and then we will put the Jeep on the dyno and see how much power it makes. Let's go ahead and get after it. All right, I want to take a couple quick seconds to mention today's video sponsor, TexasJeepProducts.com. They have a wide selection of Jeep 4.0 Wrangler performance parts. If you're into that sort of thing, go check out the website, TexasJeepProducts.com. And now let's get back to the video. All right, let me just take a couple quick seconds to explain how we're going to do the test today. I've determined, because the temperature is a little bit different today, I'm going to go ahead and do one baseline run just to back up some of our other baseline runs, and then I'm going to go ahead and shut the vehicle off. I'll open the hood, we'll go ahead, we'll put the Windstar box on, we'll start it up, we'll let it idle for a little bit, probably about 10 minutes, let it warm back up, and then we'll go ahead and start our testing. But I think it's important to get a baseline run today because the temperature is a little bit warmer. I think we're 95 degrees or so today. We'll have to look at the dyno here and see, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do one baseline run, and then we'll go ahead, do the Windstar box, and then we'll start doing our 3 tests, our 0 to 60 and our stab test. Okay, we got the dyno hooked up here, and it says 93 degrees, but I think it's definitely warmer than that. We're actually, you know, according to this, we're fairly similar to where we were before, but I want to get a baseline anyway. Air fuel's hooked up, tachometer, everything's all running. The vehicle's been running for about 30 minutes. We'll go ahead and we'll do our baseline pull, and then we'll start with the modifications. Okay, as before, we have our HP Tuner software here hooked up. I'm gonna go ahead and start that in preparation for the run. This is going to be the baseline run without our Windstar box installed yet. Go ahead, we're gonna get it up here to 2500. Let's take a look and see what we got. Okay, so for run 1, I went ahead and I put our stock best run up here, 125.0, and our pull that we just did here was 123.0, 158 on the stock run, 164 torque today, and they look very similar all the way out. You go ahead and just put this on engine speed. Same story. SAE smoothing is 0. Let me just display our conditions real quick, and we'll compare last time to this time. Actually, you know, temperature, it says it was pretty close, 93 last time and basically 93 this time, so really couldn't be much closer for temperature. Pressure's a little bit different, 294 versus 296, 39 versus 37%. We're actually, our SAE correction factor is a little less today, at 1.02 versus our 1.03, but all in all, very similar. I'm gonna go ahead, shut this thing off, and then we'll get into installing the Windstar airbox. Hang tight. All right, we're back over here at the toolbox. I went ahead and pulled the laptop out. This is the first run of the day. It's just really hot out there, so pulled it in here. Went ahead, it was 2400 where we stabbed it. IAT was 160, and it cooled down to 147 at the top of the pull. So we ran just over 5,070 RPM. It's like about starting at 17 degrees of timing, 16, 17, 17, 19, 20. Ended up at about 24 degrees even at the top of the run. Let's go ahead and start getting our Windstar filter assembly installed, and then we'll get to the next pull. All right, real quick, these are the parts that we have. We have a couple elbows, silicone elbows I got online. I think we just got those on eBay or something. This is a piece of 3-inch, like a 45 degree, with a little Delrin piece in here for the crankcase vent to go into. And then this is the Windstar box. This one's been modified. I cut the back off and shortened it, riveted it back together and glued it. There's a lot of instruction online how to do this kind of stuff. I also opened up the diameter here on the back a little bit bigger, and then I made this kind of horn thing that sticks through the cowl, and it just bolts on there. Kind of helps it get a little extra air. And then I have this like gasket kind of pass-through thing that I 3D printed that's actually TPU, and that's going to bolt to the firewall where this goes through, like right here, and hold it on place. So let me show you how it goes in. Oh, I also made a little bracket here that goes on the valve cover, mounts in these factory studs that holds it up. So let's go ahead and get the hood open, and we'll take the stock stuff off and show you how this goes on. Okay, to remove this stock system, pretty easy overall, and I'm actually not even going to pull the whole thing out. I'll do that later, but for our intents of testing here, all we need to do is just remove the piping. And just get that out of here. Okay, and then the new setup just kind of sits in here. That stud goes on there. I need to find the clamp. I think I have a clamp for that somewhere. Get this in here, and then I'll run the piece through the firewall. And then, like I said, this just plugs in. That's just a crankcase vent. Plugs in real nice. I gotta find a bolt for that, a clamp for there, and then I gotta find my hardware for that. I'll be right back in a second when I... Okay, so this piece just goes in through the cowl, and I've already done some prep work here. I've already got a hole cut for the cowl and all that. I wasn't gonna bore everybody with those details. There's plenty of threads and whatnot online if you want to see how to do that stuff. Do a little bit of research. Okay, so our Windstar setup is on. Let me just run you through kind of what we did here. Got a clamp down there, got a couple elbows here. Got our crankcase hooked up there, crankcase ventilation. Bracket goes down here to the valve cover. That just kind of holds it nice and steady in there. Went ahead, installed my TPU gasket there. That air horn, installed that, pulled that together. Installed that screw in there on the air horn, pulled that all together. So it's pretty solid in here. It doesn't sit on the valve cover and rattle or anything. It still gets to, you know, the oil cap and all the things you need to get to. It's a nice compact setup, it really is. And you know, one of the things that I did as part of the research for this is I went on Wix Filters website when I was looking at the filters, and the stock panel filter for the TJ, which is that one over there, they rate that filter at 210 CFM, and this filter that's in here is rated over 300 CFM. So it's got more pleats in it, deeper pleats, more paper, whatever. I think it's the same cellulose material, just more of it. And that's kind of important because this motor actually has the capability at full tilt, 5,000 RPM, if everything is working correctly, this motor has the capability of flowing 300 plus CFM. So that filter, in my opinion, is actually a little underrated for this engine. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna close the hood. I'm gonna let it run for about 10 minutes and warm back up, get our IATs back up to, you know, a reasonable amount, and then we'll go ahead and do a pull and see what happens. All right, so we've had it running for about 20 minutes here on the dyno, warming up, and looking down at our IATs down here, the most we've been able to achieve so far is 140, which is still pretty warm, but We'll see if that improves at all when we start opening the throttle. Sometimes it'll cool off a little bit when the throttle opens up. But I think we can go ahead and start doing our pull. Go ahead and stop our log. So it looks like in the middle of the pull, look at that, the IAT dropped down to 118. That's pretty substantial. Let me pull up the well, let me save this one before so we don't lose it. Okay, so let me go ahead and we'll close that. Let's open up that first run. Wish you could overlay these. Be really nice. And maybe there's a way to do it, I'm just not smart. So yeah, on that run we started off at 165 and went down to 147. So then when we compare that to our Windstar run where we started, you know, roughly 134 or 138, we dropped down to 118. Let's go ahead and look at the dyno and compare numbers. All right, so there you have it. Run number 1 was our first pull of the day at 123.0. Run 2 was the pull we just did with the Windstar, 133.3. That's 10 horsepower. 10 horsepower, just changing the air box, routing it a little bit different with a new filter. Honestly, I bought the box off of eBay, I believe, the Windstar canister, and I bought a new filter from Wix and a couple elbows and some things. I probably had less than $100 in the whole thing, and that's 10 horsepower. That's not bad. That's a lot of guys will spend way more than that for less money. And look at even down low for the guys, you know. You want to sit there and claim, oh, it's not going to do anything where I use it. You know, that's 2,900 RPMs, kind of where we came in here. But 86 versus 91 horsepower, 3,000. Let's bump it up here. 3,100 RPM right here. 91 versus 97, or basically 92 versus 97. I mean, there's some gains even down low in the middle. You know, there's 10 horsepower at 3,500. All the way out, not just at the bottom. It's all the way out it helped. And the torque as well. We didn't lose any torque, let's just say that. There's, you know, right off the hit when it stabilizes here, it spikes and kind of bounces around. It stabilizes. I mean, 156 versus 163. 160, there's, you know, 10 foot-pounds right there. There's spots in here where, you know, 151, 166. That's, you know, I'll deal with a little bit of cowl noise. I know it's one of the complaints with the Windstar. It's got a little growl under the hood, but, you know, I would deal with that any day to get 10 horsepower and, you know, in some spots, 15 foot-pounds of torque. Yeah, please, for $100 all day long. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna let this sit for 5 minutes and we'll set up for pull number 2. All right, we're set up for run number 2. Go ahead and get it up to 2,500. Let's take a look at our log again. So we started off a little bit warmer this time, 145, and back down to 122 at the top of the pole. And let's see here. Map started at 99.3, and we did end up back down at about 93 again. It does drop down a little bit still. Wonder if we still have a restriction somewhere. It's interesting. Let's go take a look at the dyno and see what that pull resulted. Okay, so this would be run file 3. So 133.39. I mean, that's anybody who says this dyno won't repeat, they're full of crap. Absolutely BS. 133.3, 133.3, 169.6, 169.0. It's very repeatable if you know what you're doing. Not anything substantially different. I was going to check one thing quick while we're over here, and that is the air fuel. I want to just take a look and see if we had any change over previous runs. So run file 1, down here you can kind of see it was like 11.26, and now we're at 11.5, 11.4. So we, you know, 0.2 of a ratio. It's not a lot, but it does indicate we're getting a little bit of airflow in the fact that it leaned out slightly. We're getting a little bit of increased airflow. I think what I want to do, since these numbers were like bang bang and we're real close, I think I'm going to go ahead and pull the air filter out. I'm gonna leave the Windstar box in there, but I'm gonna pull the actual filter element out. I feel like we still have a restriction somewhere, and I want to see if possibly it's in the element itself. I think we have enough data here that's repeating. We can see what the trends are. But I'm gonna go ahead and pull that filter element out, and then we'll do the last pull with the element out. A little toasty. I want to break that, so let's pull that off. Just pull that up out of the way. That's the filter that the Windstar, in case you've never seen it, it's kind of a cone looking thing. In case you've never seen what that looks like, but yeah, it's just kind of a cone deal. I suppose I'm not going to be able to get this back on now. It would be fun if we didn't have to struggle a little bit. All right, that's back on, and let it sit for about another 2 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and do pull number 4. All right, we're getting ready for run number 4. This is a Windstar box, but with no filter element. All right, here we go. All right, let's stop our log. Yeah, so we didn't drop down to 93 this time. Stayed 94, 95 kPa with a high of 98.5. Timing starting at 17, 18 degrees, 19, 20, and ending up at 26. I believe that's about 2 more degrees than we had with the stock box on there. And I'm guessing that's due to these IATs. Once again, we started a little higher, 149, and ended up down at 124 at the top of the pole. Let's run out here real quick and check out Okay, so this is going to be run file 4, and you can see 134.0 and 169. So taking the filter out really didn't do anything, which you know, to me that tells the story that the filter's not really a restriction. It doesn't care whether it's really in there or not. You know, we gained about 0.7 of a horsepower and actually really no torque at all. So, and the air fuel's about the same. Everything else, the curve, it's all about the same. But I think this kind of you know, really, you know, is a good example of the factory box. It has some restriction. I don't care what anybody says. There's some restriction there somewhere. It's either in the box, the panel filter, maybe that little snorkel thing that comes off of it. There's a restriction somewhere, because the dyno tells the truth. And the numbers don't lie. They're right here. So, all right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and set this up for our 0 to 60 pull, and then we will get that started. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. We're gonna do our 0 to 60 pull. I'm gonna go ahead, put it in gear, and we're gonna try and time this again the best we can. We have our log running, dyno's ready to go. All right, 0 to 60 in 3, 2, 1, go. Wow, it is it is a lot louder. I mean, it doesn't bother me, but I could see how, you know, some people wouldn't really care for that. So I'm just kind of looking at a few things here. IATs, throttle, spark map. We hit about 68, 70 mile an hour. Okay, let's go take a look at the dyno. All right, so we're looking at the dyno information here, and let's back out of here, come on over, and we have to add our speed in down here. It looks like possibly got a little bit earlier start here than last time. It's a little hard to say. But we hit 60 miles an hour. Oh. 59.95. Now, so about 7.5. Like I said, it looks like it started a little bit sooner down here. 1.2 instead of 1.4, so maybe we need to take 0.2 off the top. So when we say 7.5, so maybe like 7.7 if we correct it to be about the same starting time. 7.7, so 0.3, give or take. But look at our horsepower and torque, like all the way across. There's gains all the way across into second gear. I mean, that's honest. That's an honest power right there. There's no cheating going on. So that's pretty interesting. I'm gonna go ahead next, and we'll get set up on our stab test. And we'll see if we can get some data out of the low RPM power band. Okay, we're set up for our stab test. We have the Jeeps in gear. We're just rolling out about 8 mile an hour. First gear at idle. We're gonna start the dyno, let it set for just a few seconds, and then we'll stab it. And it is worth noting, I may have forgotten to mention it, but I did the 0 to 60, and I'm doing the stab test as well. The air filter is still out of the box. So our number will be, you know, we got about an extra horsepower, so we're gonna be running just a little bit more power than than with the filter in there, but it didn't make enough of a difference to open the hood, let all that heat out, and start over. So we are running without the filter still. Go ahead and get the stab test done, and then we'll take a look under the hood. All right, we're sampling. First gear stab test. 3, 2, 1. All right. Let's take a look at the numbers. All right, so here's our stab test as we have it. The tune-up stab, we didn't do the baseline stab, but we started during the tune-up runs. So our tune-up stab is in blue, and then the one that we just did is in red. So right off the hit, not too much. Down low here, the numbers are pretty close, within a couple horsepower. Torque up here, I mean, that is 129 to 134. So, you know, roughly 4 horsepower there, 5 horsepower, give or take. And then up here, right around 3,300, 3,400 is where that starts to diverge a little bit. 88 to 90, or there's 89 to 95, 96 to 102, 135 to 143 torque, in that range. So, you know, it really starts to kind of come apart at about 3,300 RPM. You know, you can see right up here where the torque starts to bump up, and then it never really comes back together. So yeah, down low, real low, not a lot of gain to be had, maybe just a tickle, but then up high here, you know, in the higher RPM, 3,300 plus, you can start to see that's where the difference in airflow starts to take effect. So yeah, interesting information. I'm gonna go ahead, we'll set up on our idle quality test, and yeah, and then we'll start wrapping this guy up. All right, this is gonna be our idle quality test. Just zoom in here, it might be a little hard to hear. It does kind of look like over the course of the tune-up, and then now the Windstar box, our peaks are lower. I don't see it hitting 0.1 G anymore. A lot more zeros with just a couple of 0.1 sprinkled in. So I don't know, it could be a bit of an improvement. It feels pretty smooth. But yeah, there could be a little bit of improvement, but it's definitely incremental over each mod. I don't think any specific thing has done, you know, contributed to a major change. So let's go ahead and let's wrap this thing up and get out of here. All right, I think it's time to wrap this one up. Once again, I think we've seen pretty obviously that the stock airbox has a little bit of restriction. Like I said, it could be the panel, could be the box, that little air horn thing, maybe it's the tube, I don't know. But there's something in that system that has a little bit of restriction, and it's evident by the fact that only thing we changed was going to another style filter. And you know, to a lot of people's point, yeah, you don't really want to do like the K&N, you know, some of those other cotton-based filters, they let particulates through, but this is a Wix to a Wix, cellulose to cellulose, just a little bit better filter with more material, more pleats, and a higher CFM rating. The filtration is identical. I think it was, I'm not gonna remember the microns right now, but they have all the information on their website. If you're curious, you can go look it up. But basically just changing where the air comes in and the type of filter media. You know, we picked up 10 horsepower today, and granted, it's hot. It's really hot here today, but the numbers don't lie. With the hood closed, everything being the same, you know, 8 to 10 horsepower for, you know, around $100 worth of investment, a little bit of time cutting that hole in there and putting some stuff together, throwing some paint on it, whatever. For you know, for $100 or so to get 10 horsepower, you know, a lot of guys would kill for that kind of gain. So I think it's definitely worth doing, especially if you need to do it anyway. I know a lot of guys, if they do highline fenders and whatnot, you're kind of forced down this road anyway. To those guys, I would say don't be scared, just do it. I think it's a worthwhile, you know, thing to do. You get nice clean air, you know, a little bit cooler. I think we saw the IATs drop, you know, if I remember correctly, from the 170s down into about the mid 140s, and then wide open throttle significantly down. I think the lowest we saw was like 118, you know, to like 120 with the Windstar setup on there. And that's just doing one little stab pull. You know, if we had more time to let air circulate through the system, work on that intake manifold a little bit more, we may even get lower IATs yet. But just doing these little quick pulls, you know, dropping from 140s down to 120s, that's a pretty significant drop. I think it's worthwhile. I think this is one that folks should really consider if you want to do something to potentially add a little bit of power. But yeah, let's go ahead. We'll tie a bow on it and call it. I think the next run we're gonna do is I may have to check my notes. Okay, pulled up my notes down here, and I see that the next set of the next dyno video is going to be the 4-hole injectors and also throttle body spacers. And we got a couple different throttle body spacers and those 4-hole injectors. We'll go ahead, we'll put those on here and do the test just like we've been doing, and extract the data and see if any of that stuff makes a difference or not. So if you like this this sort of format and you want to see more of this stuff, go ahead, like, subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.